We sold out 180 in the first 4 or 5 hours. That was a big risk for us. I'm always about taking risks in business. And I remember the first couple of weeks, I had this product and showing our socials, but it wasn't until the hype died down where I was like, okay, hang on, I really need to learn how to market this product.
What are some key insights that you feel are really important in growing a side hustle to a fully fledged biz?
The one thing that I suggest to a lot of people, which we did, is because in business, everything can change like that. We did bring in a digital marketing agency and they promised the world. We ended up blowing 60,000.
Wow.
That was a really, really hard period in business for us. Cash flow wasn't coming in, questioning whether our product was good. There was all those doubts that came into my mind, but I always bring it back to footy. As a footy player or as an athlete, you're always having those doubts in your minds. It's how you overcome those doubts. So we kind of got a good team around us that if we ever have any doubts or we have an idea, we can bounce it off each other and we kind of navigate it together. My wife, she's the backbone of the business. We're down eye on the face and we smile and say, buy a watch. I think the main thing is if you've got an idea, just start it. Second, be able to build that relationship up so that when you are asking for a faster deadline, they're more inclined to deliver for you. 3.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Business. We're here today to learn about the success ingredients of taking a side hustle from scratch to a fully fledged business. And that business today is etching out a position in the market. Is selling out product models and providing for a family. My guest is Malakai Watene-Zelezniak, co-founder of Zelezniak Watches, a watch empire being built. Malakai, it's great to have you on board.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this one.
Hey, tell me, like you're here today, but tell me about the key points of your journey that got you here today in terms of your business.
I think it'll take it all the way back to before my footy journey started. I firmly believe that the lessons I learned before cracking into footy is definitely helping me now in the business world, and obviously continuing that into the footy world has also developed my mental state, I guess, which is what's needed in business, as you would obviously know.
Would you call it luxury watches, bespoke watches? How would you characterize the nature of the business, I guess?
I think we're a bit of both. We kind of position ourselves in the middle of both of those.
Yes.
We obviously offer our high-end Swiss-made watches to our customers that obviously collect Swiss-made watches, and we also have our medium-tier watches, which everyone that wants a nice-looking quality timepiece for a night out, for dinner, for events, we also cater to that as well. So we're a bit of in between. We've positioned ourselves in between that market.
And how did it all start? Like watches, it's I'd imagine in some respects a highly competitive market. It's got some big, well-known brands in that market. Now, tell me, how did it get to be watches?
Growing up, always collected watches, nothing too fancy, no Rolex or anything like that. More your Tommy Hilfiger, your Hugo Boss type of watches. And I remember doing a podcast with Denning Kemp in 2018, and he spoke to me after the podcast and said, look, Mal, your window's only a small amount in footy. You need to try and prepare for after footy. And at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember driving home with my wife, Britt, in the car, and we were deciding or trying to come up with ideas on what to start. Obviously, there was clothing. You had YKTR and a few of the boys doing clothing at the time. So we wanted to do something different, or something different to the typical norm. And so I remember just before we went to bed, my wife said, "Why don't you do watches? You love watches. Let's start our own watch brand." And she said, "Do your research tonight." So I remember I stayed up till about 5 a.m, all the way through the night, because once I get started, I can't stop. It's just the train that keeps going. So done my research till about 5 a.m, trying to figure out how to start this thing, do my research on it, and I really loved. I felt like passion was coming from that idea and that product. So I decided that that's probably the product I'd like to do, because it's something I'm passionate about and something I love.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, but I think it's pretty ballsy, right? Because it's been done several times over around the world. So were you thinking about how it'd be different, what you would do at that time, or was it more about what the watch would look like, what the design would be? What were the components you thought about as you started to shape the business together?
Yeah, I was more creative first. So obviously I started graphic design during under 20s because you either had to study or work, and I chose to study. So I done graphic design, so I've always loved the creative side of things. So at the very, very start, it was more the creating the watches, what kind of built that passion and that drive for me. So designing it, I was only really focused on designing what materials, what quality materials are used in a luxury watch and everything like that. Everything to do with the research of the watch was done. Thinking about it on the other side, like the business side of things, it didn't really pop into my mind until probably we were ready to launch. And then I went, okay, hang on a minute. The fun side of, the fun side that I think is fun is done. Now the business side of things come in. How am I going to sell this product? I've got this product here. It looks great. It's to the exact of what I designed it to be. How can I put this in front of people's faces and convince them to buy it?
So what was the hardest? If the design side was aligned to your strength, I guess, it sounds like it wasn't hard for you to come up with a design that you liked, that you would be happy to wear. But what was the hardest elements of all those other business elements, do you think?
I guess the whole business in general, like I'd never, wanted to start my own business. I never studied it, done no studies at high school that could probably correlate to business. And so it was kind of a big, big ocean. And I was kind of treading water, figuring out how I'm going to survive in this whole new world. And that's where I come back to the mindset and everything that I needed to crack it into footy, I now use in the business world as well. Because as you would know, business isn't a smooth sail upwards. It's always up and down, and hopefully gradually over time you're getting higher and higher. But there was a lot to learn in the business world. And I remember the first couple of weeks, had this product, it was marketing, showing our socials, but it wasn't until the hype died down where I was like, okay, hang on, I really need to learn how to market this product, and I need to learn the back end, how to process orders, how to set up everything on the back end. So I've learned a lot over the 6 years.
Well, I think that's cool. So am I right in saying there wasn't a blueprint back in the day? You didn't have a set of plans that say, righto, I'm the architect, here's a set of plans, build a business, and away you go, build it. It wasn't like that.
No.
You sort of incrementally approached it. You had what you thought was a good product, and then it was about, okay, how do I make sure the market sees the same and actually pays me some money for it? Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly it.
Was it trial and error? Did you have some failures along the way?
Yeah, definitely a lot of failures. And I'm a big believer in failing and failing fast and learning from it. So there's a lot of failures. I think one would have to be a very, very costly one for us at the start. We ended up blowing 60,000.
Wow.
In the business, which early on in the year, 60,000, was a big number. Was a big number for us, and we lost that amount of money, but then also the sales that we didn't get on the back end of that as well. So that was a big learning curve, and we did bring in a third party digital marketing agency, and obviously they promised the world and all that jazz like they do. But I look back now, and I don't think we were ready to have a digital marketing agency come in. Like I think we were still in the early stages. We were developing our brand and we were learning on, setting our own pillars and our own structures in place. And we brought them on too premature, and we didn't have anything set up. So in a way, our sales went down. We ended up forking out the 60K that we locked into with the term contract. And I'm a big believer that you learn from your mistakes, and I won't be making that mistake again.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, reflecting back, like what were those early days like? You'd design a product, then you'd test it in the market, or did you just launch it in the market to see what happened? How did you kind of figure out where your product designs needed to be and where the market was? Was it just from testing small quantities, or did you have to buy bigger quantities because you get them manufactured and there's some thresholds? How did that work?
Yeah, we pretty much were cowboys in the Wild West. We pretty much pulled the trigger straight off the bat. We didn't know whether our customers would like it or not. We just designed the watch that we loved and we loved to wear, and we think if we love to wear it and we love to rock it, hopefully our customers or our community would love to wear it as well. So there was no real, slow dripping out, designs. It was just, our manufacturer at the time, you got to do minimum 300 per style. So, and watches cost a bit to make. So I guess the learning curve for us there was that we bit the bullet, pulled the bulk order, done it, and luckily it panned out good for us.
But how much of it was luck and how much was it a calibrated kind of risk decision? Like, was it like jumping off a cliff, or did you have a fair degree of confidence that the market would take it up?
Bit of both, I reckon. Thinking back now, it's so long ago, but I think it was a bit of both, bit of luck, but also a bit of thought behind the process of it all. And when we were designing the watches, we knew we had to design something that not just I would like, people around me would like. We got input from our friends and family and what they liked, and
okay,
done a little bit of market research, but. Then again, it was a little bit of luck as well, because at the end of the day, we could have designed this watch and no one really liked it and no one would buy it, and we're stuck with all the stock. So
I think you've hit on a really interesting point there. I deal with a few inventors in the early stage of new products, and inventors are so passionate about what they like, and they're so passionate about their product, but sometimes it's the best product in their lounge room, but not anyone else's. So I think, you're very modest about your market research, but I hear you say that, actually it wasn't just a watch that I like to wear, as in yourself. You figured out that you needed to understand what others might have had appetite for, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And we also done our market research, as in like going into physical jewelers, looking at all the styles, what the big brands are producing. Because in the watch industry, designs change just like fashion, every couple of years. So you got to be staying up with the trends and the new features and stuff that come out with watches. So there's a lot to go behind it. So yes, there was a bit of market research, but there was also a lot of luck as well.
Yeah. So your manufacturer, you were saying they need a minimum order of 300. How'd you go about identifying a manufacturer that was right for you? And is that manufacturer the same one as you identified way back when today, or have you been on a journey in that space as well?
Yeah, so when we were deciding a manufacturer, I jumped onto Alibaba, done a lot of, went through emailing a lot of different manufacturers, but the one thing that I suggest to a lot of people, in which we did, is flying over there and walking through the actual factories.
So in-person visit, yeah?
In-person visit. I think it'll save you a lot of money in the long run, a lot of headaches in the long run. We're lucky we did fly over there because we had 5 lined up. We went through the 2 that we were looking at knuckling down and actually going through with our bulk order. We walked through the factories, and ethically it wasn't what we wanted. From our business. It was a bit of a, not to our standard, not what we wanted to produce our watches through. So we ended up going through 2 other manufacturers with all the dust-free workshops, the best machinery, everything like that, great workers, ethically really, really good. And we're still with them today. So we still use them, and we use one other that we can kind of negotiate back and forth with our pricing. And
so you're not completely beholden to one manufacturer?
No.
But it sounds like you've got some quality and ethics standards that you've achieved as a result of doing a beauty parade, I guess.
Yeah.
Was price important in that discussion?
This is another thing. We just recently got back from Hong Kong, the International Watch Fair, and looking back at the prices we paid early on, obviously, because we didn't know the industry, we obviously know it now that we were paying almost double the price of what we could get now. Obviously, with a lot of negotiating back and forth, and different manufacturers were able to get that. But at the start, we knew nothing about business, how to make a watch, what the price points were, what it costs to make a watch. So we pretty much paid what we thought was a reasonable price, and we later learned that it was almost double.
Yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, as a general point, with people in that situation that I deal with, I often say to them, listen, don't focus too much on the price early days, because the market research of actually having the public buy your product is far and away more important than whether you make a margin of X or a margin of Y. Now, it's all very well to say that, because you want money in the turnstiles. Otherwise, it's tough. But I think, being able to sell it, feel the market, feel their behaviours, feel their appetite is a big thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And just on that point, I think that's probably what's worked for us as well. Is not going into this with our, I guess a game plan or a solid plan that we're going to follow this. We were able to learn slowly, navigate the business world at our pace, and also being able to figure out those little things along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I think also you mentioned the supplier. From a valuation perspective, those are sort of things that we look at, right? So being beholden to one manufacturer, is quite a risk. I mean, they might be very good and the agreement might be very good, but having, a bit of a spread allows you to be, you can manage your risk in the event that something happens to one. But it sounds like you've developed a pretty strong relationship with those manufacturers.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. That is the reason why we have two, and we'll always have two manufacturers going forward, just because sometimes your current manufacturer may not be able to make deadlines, or their quote may be X amount, which is really expensive. Having that second one, you're able to negotiate that down. And if you can't get that product done in a 6-week period, which is what watches take to make, you've got the second manufacturer to back up, and you can make it with them as well. So it's having both of them backing up. And at the end of the day, you never know when that factory will shut down, or when for some foreseeable future they don't end up making watches anymore. You've got to back up there just in case, or because in business everything can change like that. And
so you've got
to be ready for it.
You've got to be ready for it. Will you ever manufacture watches yourselves?
We actually spoke about this coming back from Hong Kong. They had a shop there, or like an expo shop, and they had all the tools to make your own watches.
Really?
Which then piqued the idea, why don't we look at starting our own Australian-made watches and having them assembled here in Australia at our warehouse, and hiring some staff in to start training them up and getting them to do it. The watch world, it's not too complicated to make. It does take time, and it is a process, and you do want to take your time on it, but it's not rocket science. Like, you don't need to have a degree in learning how to make watches. So that could be something on the future plans, having our watches made here in Australia.
Just on the timepiece, while we talk about watches in the watch world, I mean, we've all got phones, right? Times on the phone, at times in a number of spots. What is the watch today? I mean, back in the day, it was a pocket watch, I can remember my grandfather having one, right? It was a beautiful timepiece. But today, is it more a piece of jewelry, or is it a practical thing, or is it always going to be a bit of mix of both? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a bit of mix of both. A lot of our customers obviously love it for the history of the timepiece. So your automatic movements, they love the details and everything that goes into making a watch, and the art of time.
Yes.
And then we've got our customers that just want a really nice timepiece to go out to dinner with, or an event, or a night out with your mates. You just want that little jewelry accessory to tie in their outfit. So it's a bit of both. We get both, which is why I guess we cater to our Swiss-made watches and our medium tier, which is made over in China.
Yes.
And that's the two markets you can get them made at. So we cater to both. Obviously, the price points are different, but we think we can cater to both of them.
Yeah. And is there a demographic that you're targeting? Do you have to be a certain age to wear a W Zelezniak watch?
Not really. Our demographic.
Put that another way. Am I too old to wear one?
No, you're not. Actually, you're surprisingly, our demographic is anywhere from 18 to 55. So you got that kind of,
nice.
It's pretty broad, to be honest. Yeah. It's not just young. It's not just old. It's a mixture of both. So, no, you're not too old to wear one of our watches.
Now, we talked about the back end a little bit in terms of the manufacturing aspect. What about the front end? Was your business always going to be an online e-commerce style business, or, did you or have you plans that are broader than that?
At the start, yes, it was just going to be an online business. I guess e-commerce, obviously the new wave coming through in business, or is here at the moment. But I guess with watches, people want to try them on as well. Yeah. And we've had a lot of emails, a lot of customers reach out to us and say, look, we want to buy one of your watches, but I'd love to try it on and feel it and see how it looks on my wrist. So we had to kind of change our mindset from just e-com to possibly having our watches into jewelry stores as well.
Yes.
Which we've knuckled down our first one, which we'll be announcing in the coming week or so.
That's exciting.
But then, yeah, I guess we can also have that online presence, but also have stores all around Australia and New Zealand where people can go in and try it on and see it in real life.
Yeah. So is that sort of showroom style? If it was a car, so to speak. But it's a watch showroom opportunity. But I guess there's an element of emotion you're trying to link into there. The touch, feel. How does it look? Do you look good, so to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's the main reason why we decided to push into jewelers as well and have both sides, have brick and mortar and obviously our e-com as well. We were tossing up, open up our own stores. Obviously, that takes a lot more time and obviously a headache on my end. So the reason why we didn't go down that route is because you got jewelers all around Australia and New Zealand that do a fantastic job. They've already got staff in place, everything like that. So having our product in those stores, I guess takes a headache off me, and I can continue to dedicate time to the e-com side of things instead of having my 100% attention into having our own stores up and running, staff, because then you got to deal with staff after that. So that's the reason why we pushed them into jewelers. So
all your brands, all your models be through both channels?
Yeah, both channels. So we may look at doing like limited edition drops in certain stores depending on what we work out with each individual jeweler. But mainly both styles will be available online and in store.
So how's that process been in terms of thinking about the fact that you're going to be trusting your brand with others? Like in an e-commerce world, although you haven't got the ability to completely deliver that emotional showroom aspect, you can kind of control the sales process pretty much and layer it with social media and the like. But with direct retail, you're dealing with other businesses, right? And how do you know that they've got the same brand promise and will deliver your product in the same way that you'd like to see it delivered? Was that tricky to get to figure that out? And of course, I imagine there's some commercial aspects behind that need to be sorted through as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was our biggest concern was whether, obviously we're now in competition with other brands. Is their staff going to, push our product, or are they going to then use our product and push on to another or, more expensive? All that type of stuff went through our minds. And I guess building that relationship up, I guess the first people or the first jewelry store that we're launching into, I have a pretty good relationship with them. And I guess I trust that they'll be doing right by me and I'll do right by them as well. So I guess building that trust and that partnership up with these jewelry stores, it'll be tough at the start, but I guess, we just have to trust that they're going to be doing our brand the service that it deserves.
Interesting analogy. It's probably a weird one, right? But back in the day, I was in the financial sector, lending and banking. And it was the time of the home loan brokers coming into the market. So previously, the company I worked for, CBA, was dealing direct with home buyers, right, and lending money. And then the brokers came in and they were around the kitchen table with the clients, sourcing the loans and dealing direct with the client. And it took a while for CBA to figure out that their client was no longer the homeowner. Their client was the broker. And so the really good approach is to make sure the broker is well supported around your product and the relationship is with the broker. And that was tricky, right? Because, the banks back in the day felt that they had direct relationship with the customer. But actually, they just need to make the broker look good. Make the broker know the product and service the broker effectively, and they do the rest. It's obviously not as easy as that, but it's an interesting journey, that one. But it's exciting because it's going to give you a whole bunch of different channels and, potentially a uptick in volume, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was another reason behind that is obviously the volume numbers. Like if you're in every jeweler or most jewelers throughout Australia and New Zealand, you're now looking at a numbers game rather than worrying about just the e-com side of
Yes.
things. So
Yes.
that was another reason why, is so we can just push volume out there, get the brand out there. The more people see it in real life and wear it and talk, and I guess it'll grow our online side of things as well. So kind of both sides we're pretty excited about, and we're excited to see where it goes.
But I guess that physical side may impact your online side, because you may get add-on sales as a result of people experiencing things.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a concern that we were speaking to with our jewelry store, because obviously it's going to be here at the Westfields Penrith,
Yes.
which is one of our biggest markets, obviously online.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how that goes for them and also for us as well, which I guess is why that partnership and relationship needs to be close, because we don't want to undercut them and they don't want to undercut us. And it kind of works both, if both parties are working fairly together, then I guess we'll be happy either way. So,
Malakai, you're dropping some really, really, really important insights, I think, right? Because as a business owner, you're thinking on both sides of the coin. You're thinking, what's in it for our partner? What's in it for us? How do we present it to a customer so it's fair and reasonable? I think in choosing distribution channels, a lot of businesses in a range of different industries have had challenges because some of those things haven't been thought through effectively. I mean, the other key thing is actually supplying the market if you get that uptick. So it's being able to graduate that. And no doubt you've got plans in that area as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why we have that second manufacturer as well, because if we're not able to handle that type of volume, we've got our second manufacturer that has all of our styles. We've sampled, we've flown over there, walked through the factory, so we don't have to do that again last minute. It's all set up and ready to go. And I guess jewelry stores are wanting us in about 2 years ago, and we didn't have anything set up like this, and we didn't have our structures put in place. We didn't have our back end done properly, so we didn't want to obviously end up doing this amount of volume and not being set up to be able to handle it. And you don't want to ruin a relationship with jewelry stores before it even begins, and that's why we've put things in place, and we're finally in the spot where we're able to push it out and do volume
and get success. So you're deep in Western Sydney, but is the world your market?
Yeah, definitely. Like obviously Australia and New Zealand is the two markets we're focused on. That's going to be our core market. We want to be in almost every jeweler throughout Australia and New Zealand and build the brand here strong before branching over into Europe or America. Obviously those markets are massive, and it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of time.
Yes.
So if we don't have that foundation here in Australia and New Zealand, it's going to make it so much harder to push into markets like America and Europe.
But have you got aspirations to go over there, do you think?
Definitely. I'm very ambitious. I'm a big goal setter, and I set my goals to the stars. And that is my vision, is seeing Zelezniak in every jewelry store throughout the world. And if I fall short of that and I just get Australia and New Zealand, I'm happy, but I'll always shoot for the stars.
Yeah, I love that. Do you write those things down?
No, I don't.
No, but you live them. I can feel the energy, right? Like it was that hot. I thought to myself, this is going to happen one way or another.
Yeah.
So you think about those things though.
Yeah, I'm like I say, footy has given me this mental side, I guess. With any adverse, you push through it. You work harder. You get through the other end. Positive mindset, be mentally strong.
Yes.
Setting goals, achieving goals. All that side of the footy has helped me in the business world, and it's given me the platform and foundation to be able to, I guess, set my own goals within business and, be confident and not be too scared to put myself out there. Even if I don't know the information within this business world, I'll learn it one way or the other, whether I fail and learn from it or whether I get it right because I'm doing something right in that world. I'll be happy with that.
So Malakai, you mentioned footy. So in footy, you have coaches and you have assistants for various things to assist you on your way or to tap into at certain times if you've been injured or you're looking to build strength in a different area or what have you. In business, who do you rely on? Who do you count on? Who do you draw some of that assistance from?
I've got a great team around me. Like I spoke earlier, my wife, she's the backbone of the business. And, people don't know this and don't realize that she does a lot of things behind the scenes. We're down eye of the face and we smile and say, buy a watch. And, we're the face of it. But she does all the back end side of the business, the not so fun side of things where it's not my passion. I don't really enjoy doing it. But
So what are those things?
that's everything processing customer service. She's doing the packing and orders. She's doing all of our accounting, everything to do with the bones of the business she's doing.
Yes.
Whereas I'm kind of doing the marketing, the face, the designing, because those are the kind of parts I enjoy doing. And obviously Dale's playing footy and scoring tries and getting the brand out there.
He's scoring a few tries, didn't he, last season?
Yeah,
Wow, amazing.
So we kind of got a good team around us that if we ever have any doubts or we have an idea, we can bounce it off each other and, we kind of navigate it together. I guess if it was just me, I would need a lot of help, or I'd outsource different people to help in those areas. But I've got a good network of family and friends around me to be able to rely on. Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned your partner, Britt, and she sounds like, am I right in saying that her strengths are in the detail and the process and managing that carefully? Does she ever have a discussion with you to say, listen, Malakai, our cash flow at the moment, we've just paid for a lot of orders, but we need this, and this, or we're going into this jewelry store. How does that sort of financial aspect permeate in the business?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm an ideas man and I'm the creative side. So I have all these ideas that I want to do, and obviously cash flow is very restrictive when you're doing business. And we recently just put a massive bulk order in mid-year for obviously Christmas and heading into next year. So a lot of our cash flow was tied up. Quite a bit of it, but I had all these other projects that I wanted to do before the end of the year, and obviously cash flow restricts that. Obviously now being Black Friday, I'm able to, a lot more cash flows come in, so I'm able to start these projects and bring them up. So we're always having those tough conversations of whether we have the cash to do these or whether we don't, type of thing. So it's always back and forth between the both of us.
I think that's interesting, right? Because many people don't see that, right? But it's key, isn't it? Like it makes the business, as an engine work.
100%. If I could just do all the projects I want, would have no cash flow. The business wouldn't be here, whereas you need that steady head. And I guess that's the balance that me and Britt have, is that we're able to bounce ideas. I'm very creative. I'm very, let's just do this, let's do this, let's do that. She brings me back down to earth and go, look, we can do this thing, but maybe not the other.
So she makes you choose or think through that choice process.
Definitely.
So yourself and Dal, what do you both, how do you complement one another? I mean, apart from his footy, he's a co-owner, as I understand it. So you're the design ideas dude. Is he that way in a line, or what's his key strength, do you think, in the business?
Yeah, Dal does a bit of both, other than obviously scoring tries. We bounce ideas off each other all the time. New projects, new designs. I'm always asking Dal, what color you reckon will work here? What design do you think will work? We're always bouncing and talking about different ideas. And, that's another aspect of the team that I can bounce creative ideas off Dal and get that response back from him. And then obviously Britt is the more rein it all in. Okay, boys, we can't do all these ideas. Save it for a couple of months. But the balance between the both of them is really good, and it gives me, kind of got one on one shoulder. Let's do all these projects. No, we can't do all of them. So I've got to try and make a decision as to what we're going to go ahead with and what we're not.
Yeah, I like that. This is a personal comment, but do you ever get jealous at Dal's hair?
I do get jealous because he's got very, very curly hair. We actually both do. I obviously try and get my curls out. I try and comb it out and get a bit of a wavy look, but Dal's got the luscious ringlet curls happening. So yeah, definitely, especially when he's scoring tries in the corner, it's flowing at the back there.
Yeah, it's very visual. Right?
Very, very visual.
Well, I had someone ask me this morning. Well, I asked someone, I'm doing a podcast with Malakai today, and this guy said, who you actually know, but I won't disclose. He said, I said to him, what question should I ask him? He said, ask him what product he uses in his hair. How does he get his hair to look like that?
Well, a little bit of a scoop. Dal's launching a business, and it has something to do with his hair. So, So
you heard it here.
You heard it here first. So he's working on that behind the scenes. I'm helping him out a little bit with that. But he's the main driver behind it. This will be solely Dal's. It's something he's passionate about, and
nice.
I'm there to support him every every step of the way. And, he's a very clever man. I don't think people get to see that side of Dow. Obviously, I do, being his older brother.
Of course. And, because footy's got some great highs, but you don't see all the things that go behind it. But he's a special dude. You just look at him, what he does in the corner, with those tries.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely amazing. And soon we'll have him on Choose Chats and Tunes.
Yep.
Shout out to Shaquille and the team at 92 World, because we're looking forward to that. It's going to be great. And I think it's important, when you think about a business, there's a lot of strength in your top team. You mentioned three key people there. Was there ever a point on the journey to date, and you've got a long way to go, right? Yeah. But you've built a business that's now fully fledged and strong and penetrating the market. Was there ever a point where you thought, oh dear, I think I've pulled the wrong rein here. This is not going to work?
Going back to that $60,000 mistake, I think that was a period, because we locked onto a 6-month contract, obviously $10,000 a month, to promise us the world, and obviously the promises weren't made. But
yes.
I guess that point I was like, you know what, our sales have gone backwards from them coming on, and maybe people don't like my product, maybe they don't like the designs, maybe it's me, maybe it's our business. So there was all those doubts that came into my mind, but I always bring it back to footy, because obviously that's as a footy player or as an athlete, you're always having those doubts in your minds. It's how you overcome those doubts and not letting them become the forefront of your mind. You got to kind of deal with it, push through it, and push them to the sides, because you've got bigger goals to achieve, rather than having to not believe in yourself. And that was a really, really hard period in business for us, because obviously cash flow wasn't coming in. We had spent $60,000. We were questioning whether our product was good, whether it wasn't. So that was probably the toughest period, where I thought maybe we chose the wrong product, or maybe we chose the wrong industry to kind of go into. So but lucky we came out the other end.
So was that more luck, or was it by design? Like, how did you deal with the emotion of that time? Like, did you keep going because emotionally you felt that your heart was still in it, or was it a clinical business sort of decision around being super critical of yourself but rationalizing through that process?
I think the success we had before they came on, I think that was our anchoring, or that's what anchored me. Is we had success before they came on. I'm sure we'll be able to get back to that point. It may just take a while to build back up to it, but we'll get there. And like I keep relaying it back to footy, that it's a small challenge for me. I have to bring it back to, it's only a challenge. I can overcome it. We can we can push past this challenge and come out the other end. And that's always my mindset with everything.
Yeah, I like that. And I think there's a key ingredient of business owner success in that. It's sort of almost taking yourself out of the day-to-day and looking down and saying, hold on, let's rationalize this. Let's get it in perspective. Let's look at the overall picture. Let's look at what's happened. And I think that's a key skill, and not all of us have got that skill. And we learn it. We can learn it over time, and sometimes events like that teach it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Malakai, I've reflected on what you've told us today, and what a journey it's been. What's been your biggest highlight?
My biggest highlight in the business would have to be Dallon's 200 watches limited drop. That was a big risk for us, and I'm always about taking risks in business. You need to take risks, obviously, to get reward. But that was 200 watch pieces, and we always used our limited edition watches as if sales out in under a minute. There's only 20 pieces, the scarcity of it, and we use it as a bit of a marketing ploy as well. So the decision to bring out 200 limited edition watches was pretty
ballsy.
Pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
Because we obviously wanted to sell out like that. Like, that was our whole model when it comes to limited edition drops. And I remember we made the 200. It was very last minute. That was the rush order I was talking about. She was able to get it done in time. But I remember when we pulled the trigger, it was quite a bit of a outlay in spending to make those 200 watches. But I remember we sold out, I think it was like 180 in the first was it 4 or 5 hours of launching it, and then we had 20 left to push through, and it took 72 hours to push through the whole 200 watches. And I just remember seeing that, obviously I had ambition to sell out straight away, but in the back of my head I said, look, if we have Dell's style up until Christmas, so be it. We'll just do it anyway. So to sell it out in 72 hours, we were over the moon. That's 200 watches at $460. So that was probably our biggest, I feel one of our biggest achievements in business to date.
On reflection, if you were to do it over again, knowing what you know, how many would you have ordered?
See, we done 200 watches because it was Dow's 200 game. So we wanted to kind of play on that side of things. But I guess we could have done 500 limited edition drops. We may not have sold them out in 72 hours, but within the week, I reckon we would have done it.
But there's something about scarcity, right?
There is.
Also in terms of building the brand, building the interest.
Yeah, exactly. Like people that missed out on our 200 watches or even our limited edition watches that we dropped earlier on throughout our business journey, we had spikes in sales after that with our everyday or our normal style watches. So in a way that, people miss out on that drop, but they want a piece of the brand. So they end up buying, our everyday or our every-ready watch styles. So that was the main, that was why we were nervous at the start, because we wanted it to sell out as fast as we can, but end up doing that. And we were very, very happy, I remember, because it was a pretty big, it was a pretty ballsy move for us. And
it came off.
And it came off, which was good.
But it's also had other flow-on benefits to the business, which, was still probably percolating through as a result, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like we still have a lot of people ask us about Dow's limited edition watch and, are we bringing it back, everything like that. And no, we aren't. But they end up going on to buy, obviously, one of our other watches. So, we're still getting success out of that. What's that, 3-4 months later.
So that's a really neat highlight. Is that something that you see from a marketing perspective that you'll be using more often? And also, what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, I think what we learned is that, everyone loves a story or something to connect to the product. And obviously they had Dow's 200th game. They could connect with that product with Dow. So it piqued a couple of ideas in my brain or in our brain. And we thought, why not do cross-brand collabs with limited edition drops?
Yes.
Because people obviously love different brands, clothing brands, everything like that. So why not bring out a brand collab with someone else?
Okay.
And do these limited edition drops throughout the year. So we've got 2 knuckled down for next year.
Have you? Yeah.
Which we'll be announcing in the new year. But that's
you don't want to drop it here.
Not yet. It's still in the early stages of developing and designing the watch. But that piqued the idea to be like, this could be part of the business or like the business model is that we bring out, 3 or 4 limited edition drops throughout the year. And we can build content around that. We can build our campaigns around these limited edition drops, which, then in turn gives us content to be able to post on our socials and build our brand up, having that brand that people want to be associated with. And I guess piggyback off other brands and then piggyback off us. It's both, 50-50 collab between the both of us. So, that I see being a really big point in our business heading forward.
Your brand, Zelezniak Watches, 3 words that describe it. What would they be?
Family, quality, timepiece.
Timepiece. And we spoke about emotion before, right? And one of the reasons that you're developing that other channel with jeweler outlets to give the showroom opportunity. But your highlight around Dow's 200, there's a lot of emotion developed by that event, right? And so kind of it's interesting to hear you reflect on that and what you've learned from that, because it shows me, I think, the way I take it is that you're going to be able to develop a whole bunch of content that does show the emotional elements of your brand and product more explicitly, even in an e-commerce arrangement. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's the reasoning behind it.
I'm interested in the biz moving forward. In the next 5 years, for instance, what other products might this business be selling, or is it watches, and watches?
During that period, we tossed up whether we should start another product or add a product to our business. Obviously, because we were second guessing other watches, should we continue down the watch industry or should we bring on another product to help with our brand? And we were close to bringing out perfume or like our own cologne. Sampled, spent thousands of dollars on market research and obviously product research and everything like that. And we ended up getting to a point where I just decided not to. And I think because the watches were doing really well at the time, and I just thought maybe we can be known as just watches and we don't need a second product or a third product to add to our brand. And I never shut off things. So I'm always open to possibly new products coming on board. But at the moment, we're heading in a direction where I'm liking where watches, W. Zelezniak being known as just watches is probably perfect for us at the moment.
Yes.
But if things change, obviously we got to adapt and change with the economic climate and different things like that. So I never say never, but possibly.
No, I get it. And I think it's always a bit of a judgment for some businesses too. Do you build the distribution channels first with, a single or small select group of products, or do you build the products first and then figure out the distribution? Now, from what I've heard, you've got a core group of products that are starting to get market traction very much. And, so that now you're building out your distribution network. And, things can happen over time and opportunities can rise. I've dealt with an Italian-based perfume manufacturer over the years in terms of building a business. And interestingly, the success of their product is, yes, the smell's good, but it's actually the wood casing for the perfume that they sell that delivers them the extra margin in the market. So it's kind of weird. I mean, the world's your oyster in that sense, I think. It's just a matter of choosing what's right. But sometimes it's about doubling down. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're doubling down at the moment. But in saying that, in the future, I'm never closed off to different ideas, different products. I'm always open to it. I think you need to be open in business for things to change and for you to change with them. And, if you kind of stuck in your ways, you'll probably get left behind if the market's changing or if it's developing in a different direction to what your company's heading towards. So, I'm open to it, but we'll have to see in the future.
Now, I got a couple of last questions. My last one is just to give you the heads up is, a couple of key gems that you might share with our audience around what you've learnt in business along the way to date that are informative, if you like, for someone travelling the same journey from a side hustle through to a fully fledged business. But first, your business model is an interesting one, I think, at the moment, because from what I can see, it leverages the e-commerce world. You're leveraging other distribution channels. You've outsourced the manufacturing to a trusted partners. You've got a small team. In a sense, it sounds like you've got the three amigos at the top bench. So not a lot of other people that are in-house employees, notwithstanding you rely on people elsewhere. Do you see that team growing over time, and for what purpose? Or do you think that it'll be more supplying to getting the services from key partners?
Yeah, I think at the moment we outsource a lot of things to do with our videography, photography. Most things are all outsourced, so we only need the three at the current moment.
Yeah.
But when we're pushing into majority jewelers and stuff, we'll need to bring on staff. Obviously, I reckon maybe 2 or 3 more, one or two to cater to the online orders and release us from working in it to working on it.
Yes.
And then also someone with the, to head up the distribution of making sure our jewelry stores are stocked and back and forth. So we're not stuck in that day to day. We're able to look at the business as a whole and be able to grow it, continually grow it. So in the future, I see us maybe having about 2 or 3 different staff members come in under us and help build our brand.
Do you relish that opportunity of employing people into the business for those roles, or do you find it a bit daunting?
I've never really had to hire people, so it is a little bit of a daunting moment, I guess, because it's uncharted territory. I've never had to sit down and interview someone for a role. I've never had to go through resumes, and I've never had to give a bit of trust with our company over to someone that I'm trusting to come in and help build that culture in that team. And I related back to footy, having the best culture. Obviously, you see so much success. So that will be a tricky part. And I guess that's why I probably haven't done it yet, because I'm trying to put it off for as long as I can.
Yes.
But I know I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to put the big boy pants on and and give a bit of trust over, to people coming in and helping the brand grow.
Yeah, I love that. I feel your challenge there. From my experience in running businesses, but also valuing and advising a range of businesses, it's the hardest thing, right? To employ the right team, but also to give trust and grow that culture. But it is achievable, and it's extremely satisfying and rewarding when you get the mix right. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops. Hey, listen, throw us a few gems, right? Like the audience, I think the audience has got a few gems already, but reflecting on the journey to date, what are some key insights that you would, you've either learnt and are doing a different way, or you feel are really important to kicking goals in growing a side hustle to a fully fledged biz?
I think the main thing is, if you've got an idea, just start it. I think the hardest part, and I think you speak to most entrepreneurs or most business people, is that they've had this idea for months or years and they just hadn't put it, and they wish they had put it earlier.
Yes.
So just start it. That's literally as simple as that. Start it, figure it out, learn along the way. I guess not everyone is going to see success, and it's not going to be a smooth road, but at the end of the day, you're going to learn from your failures, and you're going to learn from things. Like, I've made so many failures over the past 6 years that too many to even talk about and go into, but I've learned so much, and I will never make those same mistakes again. So I guess first, start it off. Second, if you are manufacturing over in like another country, you're not having it made here in Australia, it is beneficial to fly over there. Build that relationship up, like we spoke about earlier. It's important to build those relationships up, because at the end of the day, you're relying on them to have your product here in Australia on your doorstep on time. So I feel that if you can go over there, see the quality of the manufacturer, obviously, one. To be able to build that relationship up with them, so that when you are asking for a faster deadline, they're more inclined to deliver for you, which we have had success with that, whereas we've asked for a faster time to deliver, because we've designed it late and we're trying to catch up, and they have delivered on that part. And I feel it's because I've had that face to face.
That's pretty special, right? It's more than just a transaction then.
Exactly. And I was able to meet our manufacturer's daughter, the husband, sit down with dinner with them, have conversations with them. So I feel like we're connected in that way. And I feel if you build those relationships up early, if you're ever stuck in a pickle or you need things done earlier, they're more inclined to do it. So I'm a big believer of flying over them and sourcing out manufacturers. 3, have minimum 2 manufacturers, because you're always going to change over time. Different factories change, they change over products. Their prices could go completely up and you're stuck with nothing. So having a couple manufacturers in your back pocket is always handy. Yeah. That's pretty much I love the starting bones, and there's a lot more other that you'll learn along the way.
Yeah, no, but part of that's life's journey, right? Whilst you're an ideas person, my sense is you're also a risk manager, just quietly. I just get that flavour, right? Yeah. The way you talked about the manufacturers is one example. But also I think, the way you talked about establishing that relationship with the manufacturers tells me a lot, I think, about how you are in business. I think there are certain business owners that come up with a great idea and they think that they can procure a service very transactionally. There's a service provider, we'll just get that person to do it. But you've talked to us about laying the groundwork for a long-term involvement where there's flexibility on both sides, so that, you don't stuff the business in the process, but they also feel like they're getting value and making money at the same time. And I think that concept, not just for manufacturing, but for all those relationships in your sort of business ecosystem, if you like, it's pretty key, yeah?
Oh, definitely. And just to touch a little bit more on that is most watch manufacturers won't allow you to do a limited edition drop. So we've dropped 20 pieces, custom engraved on both sides. Like, it's very hard to build a relationship with the manufacturer that will allow you to do that. And that's where I go back to building that face-to-face, that relationship, is that she allowed us to be able to produce only 20 watches of a certain style, which is very, very hard to get.
But you know, you're doing things that haven't been done before.
Exactly.
Malakai, thank you for being our guest on Let's Talk Business.
Thanks for having me.